But first to Victoria, the debt-riddled, crime-ravaged state where Labor has ruled unchallenged for more than a decade and where a feckless opposition, too gutless, too unprincipled to actually oppose, has been floundering, unwilling to take on Labor on even 80-20 issues, like the trans madness that afflicts the state. Indeed, at the last state election, the Libs promised not to change a single element of the radical laws under the so-called anti-conversion legislation. The Victorian opposition gave an ironclad guarantee that it would not amend any of these radical laws, pledging to support this state's LGBTQIA+ activist movement. Shadow Minister for Equality, James Newbury, said the Liberal Party will not be changing these laws. There are no ifs, no buts. I'm giving an absolutely ironclad guarantee. Newbury explained his deep, abiding relationship with the rainbow community. Never mind that this legislation was so hard left, so radical, that it had been criticised by everyone from mental health experts to faith-based groups who called it the biggest threat to religious freedom in years. Now, that was back in 2021. Less than a year later, I was contacted by some of the victims of this legislation. They were female prisoners distraught about a violent male with a penis who identified as female being put in a women's jail in their prison. These women had resorted to a petition after authorities ignored their pleas for help. They wrote, "We feel threatened, unsafe, distressed and traumatised with this current situation." Not only had Victorian authorities ignored these women, so had the Labor government and the Victorian opposition. An absolutely pathetic lack of leadership, common sense and decency. A sickness exists in Victoria where ordinary people feel increasingly unsafe in their own homes, in their cars, in the streets, while criminals take full advantage of a justice system that has been corrupted by leftist ideology with concepts like restorative justice, critical race theory and the maddest excesses of trans ideology. In Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon lost her job over male criminals being housed in women's prisons. But in Victoria, the opposition have largely gone along with this madness until very recently, where finally there's been a little opposition from the opposition leader to male sexual predators being housed in women's prison. In the past week, you would have heard of a paedophile, a man known as Hilary Maloney these days, being held at Victoria's biggest female prison. This man received a, in my opinion, manifestly inadequate sentence, a minimum term of just 2.5 years for repeated sexual assaults against his 5-year-old daughter. And that pitiful sentence was partly due to his transition not being fully accepted by those around him. The judge noting, "You had only started to transition in around 2021 and your gender identity was not fully accepted by those around you. I do accept that your moral culpability, which I would otherwise assess as high, is reduced by reason of these factors." The rest of the world is awake to the dangerous, lunatic excesses of the trans movement, but Australia and particularly Victoria remain an outlier. Premier Jacinta Allan has washed her hands of the matter, declaring it would be inappropriate for her to direct the placement of prisoners. A female leader with zero regard for the rights of female prisoners. Vulnerable women trapped with male sexual predators due to her government's insane laws. And where to is the Australian Human Rights Sex Discrimination Commissioner, Anna Cody. We reached out to her office during the week for her thoughts on this matter and we got zilch, nothing. She failed to provide any commentary other than her office declining an interview request, one that was not even made incidentally, but nothing. No commentary about a situation where female prisoners are being victimised. And naturally, the Sex Discrimination Commissioner's staff have their pronouns listed in their correspondence, naturally. This is what happens when hard left ideology runs amok. And it won't stop at Victoria. If you have a state Labor government and weak opposition, you can expect similar lunacy to come to your state.